be working on a holiday recipe, which feels so fancy, but after you watch this video, you're gonna wonder why you haven't tried it sooner. We are going to make a Christmas prime rib. Of course, you can make this anytime, but Christmas just feels so appropriate for this because it's a pretty hands-off dish. You pop it in the oven and then you let it rest and it's done, which makes it super easy so you can enjoy time with your family, but it feels super fancy. It's a delicious dish. So I'm gonna walk you through how to make a Christmas prime rib. My suggestion would be around the holidays, prime rib is a pretty sought after dish. So a lot of the grocery stores and butchers are gonna want you to call ahead. So my biggest tip is to call ahead to the butcher or the market that you're going to and make sure that they have it. And if not, if they can order it. So you might wanna do this a few days in advance. I know that when I called around to ask about my prime rib, they were already taking, reservations like weeks in advance. So keep that in mind when you're choosing to do this. Just make sure you can get your hands on one. This one I picked up at Whole Foods. It was super simple. They didn't have it in the case. I had to ask for it. So that's another tip, is to just ask. Now, here it is. So I have a little one, a 4-pound prime rib that I picked up. Usually they will cut it for you so you can get like just one rib. You can get 8 ribs. It's about 1.5 pounds or so per bone, but you can talk with the butcher when you get there and decide on what's gonna be perfect for you and your family or whoever you're feeding that day. So I'm just gonna peel this paper off here and kind of show you what a prime rib looks like and go over this with you. So I asked the butcher to cut this French style. I totally suggest you do this. They do it for free. It's included. It's what they do. You can French it at home, but why if they're gonna do it for you? So Frenching means they just take all of this bone and meat down, and it looks nice and pretty. They have the best knives to do it. I've tried to do it at home. It just kind of gets messy, and I've never made it look as good as them. So I would suggest that you ask for it Frenched at the market. So here you can see this is nice and big. Here you've got the bone right here, all the meat. And then over here we've got the fat. So this is just gonna become important later. So I just wanted you to get familiar with kind of like what's all going on here with our prime rib. Next up, after you've gotten your prime rib, you brought it home, you probably wanna buy it, day or two before, even the day of, pick it up. The next thing you're gonna wanna do is let it come to room temperature completely before you cook it. So there's 2 methods. You can dry it out in the fridge the night before. I have included those instructions on my blog, natalieparamore.com. Just search Christmas prime rib, it'll pop right up. And that's gonna give you a nice crust. So you can do that the night before. Then when you're ready to start cooking, you're gonna preheat your oven to 500 degrees. When it's really, really hot, that's how we're gonna get that crust and that juiciness. Seal it all in. Then the next thing we're gonna do is let it come to room temperature. This takes about 3 hours. So plan ahead, but literally all you have to do is pull it out of the fridge, stick it on the counter. Done. Let it sit there for 3 hours, come to room temperature. The closer the meat is to room temperature, the reason this is so important is that it is going to cook more evenly. If it's super cold in the center and then not on the outside, it's not gonna cook evenly, and so you're gonna have a lot of different temperatures going on. So that's why the room temperature thing is important in this case. All right, now for the fun part. This is super simple ingredients, so I'm just gonna get this out of my way and get started. So over here, I'm just gonna do a super simple one. I've got rosemary and garlic, butter, salt and pepper. Like I said, this is super simple, it tastes great, and it's gonna make for a perfect dish for your family. So now we're just gonna prepare these herbs, get them all ready. Peel the garlic. I love this little thing. It makes peeling garlic so easy. You just roll the garlic in here and it comes out, and then the skin just comes right off. Super, super simple. Okay, so we have our peeled garlic. We are going to mince it up. This is important. So I usually press my garlic just because it's easier, but in this case it will burn because we're cooking at such a high temperature. So that's why we're gonna go through the extra step of mincing the garlic. So for mine, I've got about, 6 cloves here. I suggest using at least 4 for a 4-pound. I would not use the pre-cut stuff. I would not use the pre-cut garlic. It just doesn't have the same flavor as when you freshly mince it. So in this case, take that extra time. Go ahead and mince up this garlic. Okay, so now I've got our garlic all mixed up. I'm just gonna add it to our spices here because we're gonna do this all at the same time. So I've just already measured out my salt and pepper in a little bowl. Put this right in. Another thing you'll wanna do is sit out your butter so it gets nice into room temperature. So I've already done that. And now I'm going to take my rosemary and I'm just going to peel it and mince it up as well. So again, easy to do. You can buy it at the store. Every store has it. If you can't find fresh, you can use dried. You're just gonna use a little bit less than you would if it was fresh because the flavor is a little more intense in a dried spice. So now we've got our rosemary all here. I'm adding it to our spice mix. So this is just salt, pepper, garlic, rosemary. It's a great combination for meats. Super simple. Okay, so now comes the fun part. So we've got our oven preheated to 500 degrees. And then also you wanna have this part ready to go. So I'm gonna get your kind of setup here. You've got your room temperature butter. We've got all your herbs ready to go. We've had our meat that's come to room temperature as well. Then over here we have a roasting pan. So this is kind of a deep dish, and inside you're going to want a rack. This is what it's gonna sit on, and it allows some of the heat from the oven to flow underneath, evenly cooking your prime rib. Again, this just makes it easier. Another thing you're gonna have ready is a couple strips of aluminum foil, and we're gonna wrap these around this at the end to make sure they don't burn. Okay, so get ready. Things are about to get a little bit messy. Depending on how big your prime rib is, that's gonna determine how much butter you need. I'm gonna use just under half a stick for my 4-pound roast. And if I need more, I have more. Again, you're not gonna get too much really. So like I said, hands get dirty, just be ready for it. Rub this all over. If you don't want to use butter, you can use another high heat oil. Just make sure you use something that's not going to burn. Like I said, you're going to get nice and dirty, but it's a quick process. Then you can wash up and go enjoy time with your family while this cooks in the oven. Okay, we've got our butter all nice on there. Now just use your hands. And you're gonna throw this away afterwards. So if you don't use everything, please do not try to reuse this. I have got all my herbs in here nice and salted. And now I'm just going to put this all over my prime rib. Just sticking it on there the best you can. Doesn't need to be perfect. Okay, now you've got your prime rib all nice and covered. It's looking good. I love the way the rosemary and the garlic are on here. It's all red and green, Christmas festive colors. I love the holidays, so I get excited for this kind of stuff. I've got this on here. Next up, you're literally just going to sit this right in your pan. Super simple, nothing fancy. If you have any little extra crumbs that fell off, you can kind of just attach them here, get them going. Okay, we've got our prime rib all ready. So I am just going to take my foil strips and just wrap the top of these to prevent them from burning. Give them little Christmas hats. Perfect. This is ready to go. I'm going to put this in the oven at 500 degrees. I have kind of like lowered one of the racks so that it has plenty of room to stand up. It should be pretty solid on there. So you're going to put it in at 500 degrees for 15 minutes, and then you're going to pull it out, reduce the oven temperature to 325 degrees, and then you're going to cook to about like anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes per pound based on the doneness that you want, from rare to all the way well done. I have this all listed out on the blog so that you have it per pound, per doneness, so you can do the math and figure out the exact way you want your prime rib to turn out. So head over to the blog and I'll have all the temperatures that you need, but all of them are gonna start out at 500 degrees for 15 minutes. Okay, I'm just sticking this in here. Okay, our prime rib has been in the oven. We are now letting it rest. I have it tented over here. All I did was put a little bit of foil over it, and I'm just gonna let it sit for 30 minutes. While that is happening, I wanted to make a quick sauce to go with it. Prime rib is one of those things that just screams for a sauce. A horseradish sauce is pretty common, so I'm gonna do a little take on that with a sour cream horseradish sauce. So here I have about a cup of sour cream. I've got a little bit of heavy cream, horseradish. This is fresh horseradish. You can find it in the produce section. It's like a root, or you can use prepared. That's in the condiment aisle. And I've got a little salt and pepper. So this is a super simple sauce. You can also make like a traditional cream sauce, Parmesan sauce. Go crazy, you can do a jus with like the bits from the pan and all of that kind of stuff. But I love a cream sauce with horseradish for prime ribs, so that's what I'm gonna make here. So I'm just gonna grate the fresh horseradish right into the sour cream, just like this. It's so just like fresh and gives like a great flavor. It can get spicy, it's not super spicy. So it really just depends on how much you add. And each root is a little bit different. So just kind of give it a taste, give it a smell. Depends on what you and whoever you're eating with like. I like my horseradish to be a little bit strong, but that is totally up to you. Okay, I've got all my horseradish in there. It's all nice and grated. You can kind of see it in there. You can do anything, tablespoon, teaspoon. This is really to taste. There's no particular, right recipe for it. Then next, I'm going to add a little bit of salt, say about half a teaspoon, because you're just gonna use a little bit of this sauce, not a lot, so you want a lot of flavor in a little bit of, cream. I'm using fresh pepper. I'm using this 3-pepper blend. You can find this at most stores. I like it. It just adds a little bit something different than just plain black pepper. And I will have a link to this on the blog if you have any questions about it. Okay, now I'm gonna add just a dash of cream and I'm gonna check the consistency, and then if you need more, you can add more. I'm just gonna mix this up. I'm just mixing this together with a fork. Nothing fancy here. It's one of the reasons why I like this recipe so much. It's so hands-off, it's so quick, but it feels so decadent. So your guests and your family are just gonna think you went all out, but really you get to spend a lot of time hanging out with them, and that's just a great thing. And give it a little taste test. Make sure it's just the way you like it. All right, I'm gonna set this aside, and now you're gonna get to the best part, the prime rib. Okay, so this is our prime rib. Remember, we cooked it for 15 minutes at 500 degrees, and then we cooked it according to that chart on the blog that says, you know, how many minutes per pound based on the doneness that you want. The trick to prime rib is that you don't want to overcook it. So always pull it out before it actually reaches your desired temperature, because it's going to continue to raise in temperature after you pull it out, anywhere from 5 to 15 degrees. So remember, if you want it to be 160 degrees, you might want to pull it out at 145 degrees, and then it will continue to cook. So do the math based on your pound, whatever it was. Mine was 4 pounds, so I cooked it for 48 minutes at 325 degrees because I wanted a medium rare. And then I pulled it out and I just put a little foil on it and I let it rest. And you can kind of see what we have going on here. It's just like a really beautiful rib. I'm just gonna move this right over to the plate. You can move it to a cutting board. I'm gonna take off its little hat. Get this out of our way. And you can see what we have here. It's just a beautiful, it stands up all on its own. We've got this like garlic rosemary crust. So, so perfect. So, now for serving. It depends on how you wanna do it. You can cut it and you have each person take their piece. I liked the presentation of it. It's kind of like, you know, the Thanksgiving turkey. You have it all big and then you can cut it at the table. So, totally again, up to your preference. So I'm just going to add some rosemary here, just for looks, because it's so pretty. Get that on there, and then remember we have our little horseradish sauce. While that was in the oven, I also just sauteed a little broccolini. So I'm gonna add that to the sides here. Again, I just love adding something kind of green to go with this. I love broccolini because it's like tender, but it's still giving you some green freshness and a little crisp and crunch to go with like the hardiness of the meat. So I'm just gonna add that all along. Also, it just looks beautiful on here. It really makes like the color of the meat stand out. They just look really nice together. Okay. And that is it, y'all. This is our Christmas prime rib. I told you it was easy. It's such a great recipe and it's gorgeous. It's a showstopper. I hope you enjoy this as much as I do with your family over this holiday season. So again, thanks for tuning in, and you can get the full recipe with all the details, including all the cooking temperatures, the recipe for the sauce on my blog, natalieparamore.com. Just head over there and search Christmas prime rib.